Hi, Lee. I really appreciated all of your questions. I first of all thought they were all so interesting, and it gave me my puppies are in the background. Please forgive my mess. I do a lot of arts and crafts, and so there's just like stuff strewn everywhere right now. Um, Pocket. I get so distracted by their cuteness, but yeah, I really love your questions, especially because it gave me an opportunity to actually explore a little bit more of Australian and New Zealand TV programming, which is really cool because the little of it that I've seen from over yonder in that part of the world, I've always really enjoyed. And like I know the obvious one is the What We Do in the Shadows film. I love those guys so much, but yeah. So, anyways, let me get into your questions. Sorry, I just like started going off on a tangent in my head about like Taika Waititi and New Zealand film and how beautiful it is over there and how beautiful Australia is too. Anyways, your first question was, do you think Australian soap Neighbours should have returned after it ended? We seem obsessed with making sure TV programs go on forever. Good question. So, I I've actually never seen Neighbours. I've known of the show Neighbours. I need to watch it. I've been meaning to do it for a really long time. I've known of the show Neighbours for years now because it's just such a iconic television show in general, and so many successful actors got their start on Neighbours, like Margot Robbie and Guy Pearce. I don't know, so many people, and so it's like been in my mind for a while. And yeah, when it got canceled and then returned after like I think it's 14 months. Gosh, it's an interesting question because one, I haven't actually seen it, so my personal take on it is not going to be very personal. It's going to be more of like a outsider opinion, I guess. But I have like a couple thoughts on it because in one sense, I think that if a show is ended, that many times, this isn't always true though, that many times it like that story was meant to be told in that way and to leave it there because that's the story the filmmakers originally meant to tell. Oh my God, did you hear that sigh out of my dog? And so when it's a case of that, then I think that something shouldn't come back. If it like had a neat, tidy conclusion, that's where it should live. But it doesn't always happen that way. And so I think that like when shows in general come back, if there's more to be told and everyone wants to keep telling it, especially if there's an audience there for it, then I don't see any harm in it. I think that there's actually a lot of good that can come from it. And I'm only making generalities here because I have myself not seen Neighbours. But also the fact that it's a soap. Like, I don't know how much you know about the soaps in the US, but they go on forever. Like, I think like Days of Our Lives. I just actually watched the very first episode of General Hospital from like the 1960s. And it was a really cool episode. And that show is still on. And so there's like so many, the soaps here go on for, 50, 60 years. And so to me, I'm thinking to myself, oh, if it's a soap, then it makes sense to me that it would keep going on because that's kind of the nature of that, type of storytelling. So in terms of like, yeah, Australians being obsessed with making sure TV programs go on forever. I mean, I don't know about how you guys are with other TV programs, but with soaps, I'm like, well, it's kind of how Americans are too. So if it's good, it keeps being good, then, hopefully more power to them. And hopefully it keeps being good. Anyway, sorry I couldn't have a more like specific personal response to that, but I have to watch it. And then have you ever seen The Brokenwood Mysteries? I love it, though I don't know why. I love that. I do have to watch series 7, 8, 9 though. So, because you said that, I love murder mysteries so much. It's like my favorite thing right now. As a matter of fact, oh my God, I'll show you right now, literally the 2 books I have in my, because I'm going out to a cafe right now to have a glass of wine and a little dinner and to do a little bit of writing myself. But I also bring books with me everywhere. I'm literally, as an aside, this is the current book I'm reading. Maybe you already know, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram. If you do, you've probably seen me post about this. But it's my current book, Murder, She Wrote, Murder in Season. I watched the TV show too. I've been watching it religiously for like the past 6 months, and the books started coming out I think after the TV show started. So like the books are kind of based on the show. But yay, murder! And the other book I'm bringing with me to the shop tonight is the Writer's Complete Crime Reference book. And I already had this in my bag, and so when I opened this up to make this video for you, I just realized right now, I'm like, oh my god, speaking of murder mysteries, that's all I have in my bag right now. All that being said, you will notice I have it on the background, because when I read your thing ahead of time, and I thought, you know what, let me watch the first few minutes of the Brokenwood Mysteries. And so I've only watched the very beginning, but I already love it so far, and I can totally see why you love it. And I just know with these types of shows, like, they are so interesting, and it probably gets 1,000 times better than like the 6 minutes I've seen. But especially like the moment when in that pilot, or I don't know what you call it, if it's a pilot episode, but that very first episode when the 2 fishermen are out I don't know if they were fly fishing, but fishing, and then the dead hand comes out of the water. I was like, ooh, yay! I'm hooked. Pun, fishing pun. But yeah, so I also love the fictional town of Brokenwood. What a great name. And it makes me think about the fictional town of Cabot Cove in Murder, She Wrote, because I'm obsessed with Cabot Cove and with that. And yes, the fictional town of Brokenwood is so beautiful. I think I read online that it's filmed in Auckland or maybe outside of Auckland. But anyways, gorgeous. Love it. So yes, thank you for asking me this question, because I may have now discovered one of my new favorite murder mysteries. Sorry, that was my watch. So thank you for that, Lee, because I get to go down this rabbit hole now. Yay. And then you said, did you know in the original Transformers cartoon, season 3, episode 30, Optimus Prime and a band of other robots, both on the good and bad side, find the cure to a deadly worldwide virus that was created in a lab by scientists testing on rats. Go watch it on YouTube. I will go watch it on YouTube. I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but I will definitely check it out. I think that the original Transformers cartoon, depending on when it came out, if it's the one I'm thinking of, maybe I'm confusing it, but if it's the one I'm thinking of, I think it's actually, that was like my fiance, I think that's one of his favorite shows that he watched growing up as a kid, and what really made him fall in love with Transformers to this day. He's out of town, he's in San Francisco working right now, otherwise I would just holler in the other room and ask him, but I think, just as an aside, I think that he really, if that's the one I'm thinking of, I think that's like one of his favorite shows growing up. And he might even, if it is, then I'm sure he actually might even remember this episode. But no, I'll have to watch that. That sounds really interesting. I mean, I've seen all the Transformers movies, and I live close to Universal Studios in California, and I go on the Transformers ride. It's really awesome. I love that ride. It's actually really, really well done. And yeah, I'll have to watch that. That sounds interesting. I know it's fictional and it's a cartoon, but I just hope that the lab scientists are doing ethical testing, because I love the rats. They're so smart and lovely creatures. So I hope all the testing is ethical and kind, even though it's a cartoon, and fictional. And then you said, isn't the Lost in Translation film a good example of how people need deep human connection? What a great question. I love these questions. I've gone on such a journey with them. Yes, I do think that Lost in Translation is a great example of, humanity's like intrinsic need to connect on a very deep level. It's been years since I saw Lost in Translation. I can't remember, to come out in 2004. For some reason, I'm seeing that date in my head. So I think the last time I saw it, I would have been, if I'm right about that date, I would have been like 14. It was a long time ago that I saw it, but I remember really being fascinated by it. And I love that, like, one of the opening scenes, the whiskey scene with Bill Murray with the Emmy. Come on. This dog has everything and she's groaning. the Suntory whiskey, which is funny because at the time I obviously wasn't drinking whiskey, but I do now, and I love Suntory whiskey. That whole sequence is so brilliant. It's just so well written and acted and direct. I mean, everything is so brilliant. And yeah, I again, it's been a really long time since I saw the film, so I can't really remember a lot of details. I need to rewatch it. But I think part of the reason why it's such a good example of people's like evolutionary need to connect with each other is that it's such a good story of finding one's own truest self within yourself. If I'm remembering this correctly, I think it's kind of what's the right word I'm trying to say here? I feel like it's also a commentary on, if I remember, I'd seen it more recently, a commentary on human loneliness, but if we can like find our own like actual true selves that's not, edited and masking for other people's sake, that we would inherently be less lonely if we can actually reach deeper into ourselves first. And I think that film really portrays that super well. And that's such a good message. I mean, it's just so true in general. It's so true. I'm realizing that more and more as I get older. So I think I'm getting an even deeper appreciation for the film as I get older and as I grow myself. And yeah, I think it's so great how human connection can come in the most unexpected ways with the most unexpected people. And that's the key, is because something doesn't need to be expected to be deep and great and a true connection. I'm going to rewatch that movie. Anyways, it was so much fun, Lee, answering your questions. And I'm going to go watch, not tonight because I'm writing tonight, but I'm going to this week watch that episode that you suggested. And thank you again for introducing me to the Broken Wood Mysteries. I am very excited to dive deeply into that. And I don't know if you watch Murder, She Wrote. It's dated. I mean, it is and it isn't. It actually, is shockingly modern in their take on the world and on human issues. It's actually quite brilliant. But yeah, you should check, if you haven't, you should watch Murder, She Wrote. It takes, the first few episodes are good, but it takes a second and then it gets better and better. And I think it feels a little more dated in the beginning, I'll say. But it's such a delight. And I think it's on, the first 6 seasons are on Amazon Prime. But yes, thank you, Lee, again, for your wonderful questions. And cheers to our murder mysteries. And I will see you next time. Bye, Lee.